Welcome back to Passionate About Music Education, and I'm Rachel Hardman, and today I'm going to talk to you about some stress management techniques that you can use when you're starting to feel that burnout or that exhaustion, and how you can bring back the energy for yourself. I've talked a lot about self-care on this channel and different types of self-care and why that's so important to avoid teacher burnout, but today I'm going to talk about connection. And I think that's a really important aspect. If you're in education, it's because you want to connect and share your love of your passion with your students, with your colleagues, with your community. You want to be part of it. You want to feel that you belong. And sometimes when we're at our most stressed, we stop feeling like we belong, that we don't fit in, that we don't belong. And that's a really sad place for us to be, but it is a sign of stress, not just for you, but it also might be the students that you're teaching who don't feel that they belong, that they don't really know how to fit in. So how does disconnection feel? It can show up in the fact that you are arriving at the last minute and leaving as soon as possible so that you're away from the stress. You might be not responding quickly to emails, communication, or getting frustrated with it. It might be that instead of being chatty on the corridor like you've always been, that you might stay out in your classroom more alone and working on a project on your own. It might be the fact that you've stopped sharing your ideas in meetings, or that you just stopped going to the staff room because you're feeling that stress. Sometimes you don't want to be in a situation where you are maybe feel that you might end up with more stress or hearing more negative talk in the staff room. And the danger of that, having done that a number of times myself, is that you become more disconnected and less belonging and less part of the establishment you're in. And it's really hard to change that mindset. So here are a couple of strategies that you could use to start choosing that mindset. First of all, really dig deep into self-care. And I know it seems to be a bit of a buzzword at the moment, but I wished I'd known it 20 years ago, because we are so taught within education in this very demand relationship kind of attitude within education that the children come first and we must put them first and we must do everything for them. And of course, absolutely, children are super important. We must care for them. But if we're not healthy, if we're not looking after our pies, our physical, intellectual, emotional, or spiritual well-being, if we're not coming in from a place of joy and gratitude and a positive energy, then we're no good to anybody. You're no good to yourself. So although self-care seems to be at the moment the in word of 2020, actually, had anybody ever taught me this 20 years ago when I first started teaching and needed better strategies for stress management, I'd have been a much healthier and happier teacher, because I didn't know why I didn't feel right. And it was because I was so busy working and being a great teacher, a great leader of the department, doing all the extra rehearsals to encourage my students. Then of course you do all your home life and you kind of end up being lost within that picture. You become the last person on that list. So first of all, really dig deep in self-care, and I have some videos on my channel that talk about pies and talk about self-care and what that looks like and why it's important for a teacher. Once you start fixing yourself and filling that glass back up and that energy level, you'll find that instantly your mindset will change from a negative to a positive, which is really good. And then you start looking for that joy, that positive moments, those successes. We are not very good at looking at small successes or celebrating small successes, particularly in education. We're always talking about the big picture and those big exam results or that big concert. And although, of course, they're really important, they aren't actually all that's important in education. That lesson where your students were able to play Jingle Bells together as a group when 2 weeks ago they couldn't, that is a success. It's an important success, and one that is really important that we celebrate with the children, so they feel connected, that they feel they belong, that they're making progress, but also for you. And then share that success, share that with their parents, share that with your colleagues, share that with your family members, share those positive moments, those wins during the day, because that's really important for you to feel connected, to feel belong, to feel that you've shared something, that you've made progress, that you've helped somebody understand something about your subject. It will help your identity and your self-worth. And the other Another strategy that you can include, of course, is the energy that you bring into the environment. If you're coming in from a place of positivity, kindness, gratitude, joy, those really strong positive emotions, then that will come in your energy of the classroom. It will help with the behavior management. Will it fix everything? No, of course not. Because if somebody else is in a really negative mindset, a child in your classroom, or 5 of them, they are going to push back against your positive energy. And you have to hold strong with that. But even if those lessons don't go as well as you hoped, that you don't quite get through the work, you don't quite win over that child, you have to hold on to that positive energy. Well, actually, I helped these 7 children. They worked really well. I connected with them. I shared my knowledge. We had humour in the room. We connected. We talked about learning. We made a difference. I made a difference to them. They connected. They made progress. You won't necessarily always win everything, but it's really easy in teaching, particularly when you're feeling stressed, particularly when you're feeling not connected, to come away and forget that connection with those students that did achieve, and to focus on those 2 students or that 1 student who didn't connect in your lesson, who wasn't in a positive mindset, that you couldn't win around on behaviour management. You're not always going to win every single lesson. Some of your lessons are going to go disastrously wrong, and it doesn't matter if you've got 1 year experience or you've got 25 years experience. We don't win them all, but it's really important that we don't bring all that energy back to us to go into the next lesson. But also we have to look at why, and it might be if you're stressed and feeling disconnected and not having that sense of belonging, then your energy level will be a different vibe. You'll be going in from much more of a sort of negative, not connected, not showing that emotion, which is totally understandable, but it will change the energy of your classroom. The energy you take in as a teacher does change the energy of the classroom. Not completely, because of course you have the children and you might have teaching assistants who bring their own dynamics, and you might be working in somebody else's classroom or working in all sorts of different situations where some of that's just completely out of your control. You can only control your energy and your connection. So if you are feeling stressed and you're feeling disconnected, start by the self-care, by looking at opportunities to bring energy, enthusiasm back into your own personal life. Put those podcasts on, listen to music, dance around your house to, your favorite pop song or your favorite, rock song, and just look for those opportunities for joy for yourself. Because regardless of how stressful the environment you are in, whether it's learning how to behaviour management with that particularly challenging class, or whether you're working in an environment that is struggling with negativity because of the situation we're currently in, or just because of the culture of that school, you can hold on to your positivity. You can hold on to that sense of well-being, which will of course change that energy with your students. It's so important to keep that positivity, that kindness, that joy, that gratitude within education, that connection, even on those dark days. And I hope this video has really helped you to think about how maybe you can do that. You are super important. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to feel that you are good enough and that you're worthy enough, and you need to really hold on to that. And by practicing self-care and gratitude and journaling and all the other things I talk about on my channel, it will help you turn that mindset around, particularly if you are struggling with stress, you are struggling with anxiety or burnout. Might be middle-aged like myself and going through that whole terrible midlife crisis that is a real thing, that who would know that was a real thing. But whatever struggle that you're having, you have to start with yourself first, because that will be the road to reducing your stress and feeling reconnected and belonging and fitting in, and that's so important. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again here on Passionate About Music Education. I'm Rachel Hardman, and thanks for listening.